Surviving Mars tonight.
Oh, that's fun. All right, streaming. All right, we are live on all of our channels. We are live with the one and only David Wiley. How you doing, David?
Hello. So it's just been a boring week in which nothing happened, right?
Literally, I was just thinking that. Like, we took 2 weeks off, and nothing happened. I mean, I feel like nothing that much happened at the beginning, but then maybe something's happened afterwards.
Yeah, there are definitely some things that happened, but yeah, this last week is kind of.
Been all over the place.
Yep.
My gosh. What? Cool. Yeah. I don't even know where to start with the chaos that is the Trump administration, the endlessness of it all. Should we go in like order? I guess we could. The first thing that I remember happening that was noteworthy, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, was that Israel recognized Somaliland.
Yes.
That was, I remember, occurring. I'll keep it honest. I don't know much about Somaliland at all. For the record, like I've just like heard the word, but I don't know anything about it. So I guess we turn to you, David. What is Somaliland? Should we care?
Somaliland is a
Nice to see you
little
in
bastion
709.
of order in the chaos that is Somalia. But, they consider themselves a country, but nobody recognizes it. It's not going to be on your maps of Africa, most likely. And so, I'd have to look it up. I think Israel might be
It is
the
the
very
first.
first, like, UN recognized government that recognizes Somaliland.
Yeah, and I was just like, I completely clueless of what the implications of this are. It looks like Trump is not going to be joining in that recognition, from what I can tell.
No, I'd be very shocked if the U.S. did. And it would actually require, to officially recognize it, would require an act of Congress. Not that, Trump has much respect for any of those. But, that's the
Not at
legal
all.
way of doing it.
We don't
You're
do
not
that
a
here.
country until Congress recognizes you. Though usually, the president goes first and then, Congress follows. That was the way, like, when Israel declared independence, president said, oh, hey, yeah, that's a country. After the Soviet Union did. Fun little fact.
Yeah, very rare that you get both of those two countries on the same page. Do you have any familiarity with Somaliland at all? Like, what is the implication? What is this? I basically watched a 5-minute video, so I'm an expert. More research than Joe Rogan. And
Yeah, I'm not going to pretend to be an expert. I have paid attention to the largely chaos and violence that is the Horn of Africa, and where those exceptions are. And Somaliland has long been one of the exceptions. Somalia is unfortunately a place where, it hasn't been a real country for decades. And warlords have taken over. So they wasn't always that way, by the way. It was actually in the mid 20th century. For Africa, it was a fairly well-off country, Somalia. And then, as things go, a little bit of socialism, and Marxist style, and that was a disaster. And people like to eat, so the government was
fun
torn down.
fact.
Yeah, the socialist government was torn down, and there's never been a real replacement.
Hold on one sec. I'm gonna. Whenever I swap over so I can invite Vince up to the stage, it like cancels it for a second. Sorry about that. We bring in Vince up. Okay.
I mean, there's the official government of Somalia.
When
I'm
I was
gonna
in
have to
college,
look that up before I say what the capital is, because I'm gonna get it wrong if I do.
When I was in college, I had I had a colleague who like very much did not like Somalia. He was Kenyan, and he said something along the lines of like a
That
Somalian
makes
government
sense.
is. He said something along the lines of like a Somalian government is a an oxymoron.
Yeah, yeah. So there's Mogadishu is the official capital of Somalia, um, and really the government has no real authority or presence outside that city. Um,
Can y'all hear me? Just want to make sure
Yeah.
we're good.
you are
Is
with
there
us.
any
With us.
Is there any feedback coming into y'all's side?
David is echoing now.
That's me. I was messing with my soundboard. I'll fix it up. Hold on.
Yeah, so Somalia is a country of warlords, bandits, and famously pirates, right? So
Is that
a
South
lot
Park
of modern
episode?
day piracy based out of Somalia.
Every time people say Somalia pirates, I think of that South Park episode.
Yeah, and there was the movie with Tom Hanks about the captain who was taken hostage by Somali pirates. But yeah, that's kind of crime is one of the main exports of Somalia. And in the midst of all that violence and chaos and never knowing who the local authority is, there is Somaliland.
I see.
And yeah, Kenya, Ethiopia, all the neighboring countries don't like Somalia because their only real export is violence. Right? Gangs,
now-
terrorists, warlords. Tends to make people not like your country.
Yeah. So now comes the an interesting question, which is: so why did Israel recognize it? Why was it? I guess it's the. I assume there are reasons why it's the first. Like, what? Why do you have any idea why no other country has, and why Israel made the decision just out of the blue, as far as I'm aware, as far as I can tell, that they made this decision?
Yeah, no, to me, not being an Israeli, it really was surprising. I do see that potentially this is kind of a power move in the region, which is very relevant to Israel. Israel has close ties socially with Ethiopia. There are a lot of Israeli citizens who are Jewish who came from Ethiopia, and they still have ties with their home country. As I said, one of the main exports of Somalia is violence, particularly the fanatic Islamist kind, which is none too friendly with Israel. And so Somaliland, while also largely Islamic, has no beef with Israel. They're too busy just kind of holding on to their little country. So yeah, I think that's really it. If there's some greater play there, I don't understand it.
The thing is,
It's also one of those things where kind of why not? I don't think there's a lot of repercussions.
I mean, for Israel's sake, they don't have like relations probably with the countries that are most pissed off about it, right? Like the countries that are most pissed off about it are,
Exactly.
Middle Eastern countries that by and large don't like or recognize it. So I'd imagine that was something to do with it. It's my guess.
Sorry, guys. I'm trying to mess with my camera, and it's not playing nice with me at all. I'm listening. I promise.
Now, what I'm going to have to learn here, Somaliland is on the border of Ethiopia, and I want to know how they reacted. Okay. So Ethiopia has a commitment to recognize Somaliland in the future.
Oh, Ethiopia? I wonder why they're not doing it
Yeah.
now. What are they? That is...
I'm sure that's kind of a keeping the peace move because it really would offend a lot of their neighbors if they did that. Right? But Ethiopia, I'm sure, since they're one of the countries that often has to deal with violence in Somalia. In fact, whenever you hear about some warlord getting, knocked over, basically. It's usually Ethiopia. Every certain number of years, like every 10 years, the Ethiopian military rolls in there and kind of mows the grass. Um, to borrow the expression that Israelis use for Gaza, unfortunately. But, Ethiopia does it differently, and nobody really objects, including the local Somalis. If you're the one getting killed, I'm sure they object. But for the most part, the other people don't care who the flavor of local dictator is at the moment.
I'd imagine. So then,
Yeah.
it looks like unless Vince has something else, I think we're not too aware of this. It'll be interesting. I'm told, supposedly there are rumors that more countries will eventually start recognizing Somaliland. I mean, like you said, I'll believe it when I see it. But for now, I think that's where we're stuck at. So I guess we can go into the next topic. Next thing that I think happened, if I recall, I think it was Iran. I think we'll save Iran a little bit later because that's an ongoing thing. I think we can go. I know you're our foreign policy guy. Maybe Vince. Maybe or Vince knows. The next thing that came up in terms of news was, ironically, we're going to go from Somalia, the country, to Somalia, the Minnesota, if you will, from international to domestic, if you will. What's the story on these Somali schools? Is this all just nonsense, or is there something real going on here that?
It's all nonsense rage bait.
I'm getting baited.
Yeah, pretty much. There's not a whole lot. This whole thing that started with Nick Shirley, which was absolutely atrocious.
Yeah.
Going in and I would say as a parent too, if anybody were to go into my child's daycare and try to start randomly recording the children, I think that'd be highly offensive.
Yeah.
And that's putting it mildly.
Yeah, absolutely. And you don't have to be, Somali or anything else to be offended. It doesn't matter. If any reporter was going to go into my kid's daycare and start recording them, I would be down there having words pretty quickly.
Yeah, but have you considered that they're brown or black? You never considered that. I'm sorry, I'm really...
Right.
Yeah, it's funny how in this big immigration, crackdown, it seems to mostly be people who are black or brown.
Well, never mind, I'm not going to make that joke. You know what I was going to say, but I'm not going to make it. Do you know what I was going to say? I was going to say that yesterday it was not a black person, but that's really messed up. Now I said it,
yeah.
though, so now I'm...
Oh yeah, you said it now. No, yep. I apologize, guys. We're gonna have a dark room today, even though in my preview for Logitech it works, but now the settings won't translate to Discord, which is incredibly weird.
I actually don't have. I don't have the camera up. I can if you want, but at the moment it's not up.
Oh no, you're fine. If you don't have the camera, then I will take my face off of this camera. Let me get this. There we go. Okay. So the Somalia thing was really interesting. Right now, the only thing that we have so far is there is a slight update to this. So so Congress actually held a hearing on the Minnesota fraud. Surprise, surprise, there was no real substance, in my opinion, that really came out of it. The Republicans called in Republican lawmakers from Minnesota to talk about the fraud, which was hysterical. The Democrats ended up bringing in people who I forgot the witness and their name, but he essentially came in and kind of really debunked when they're one guy was gish galloping. He was asking 15 questions about, do you know how many how many instances of fraud there is or something? He's like, no, and then that whole soundbite. Long story short, nothing really came out of it, as most congressional hearings seem to.
Note how they count every accusation of fraud, not findings of fraud.
Good point. And then today, which again, with what happened in Minneapolis, it kind of overshadows when you have big news stories, some of the other important stuff that's going on as well. They announced a new attorney general for fraud. And then, of course, Vance went on to answer like 1,000 questions about Minneapolis, which is understandable, but that kind of got washed out a little bit with this news. So that's something to watch out for, too, is this new attorney general and what powers they may or may not have. It's not quite clear if this is going to be like a Jack Smith with special prosecutor, or if this is going to be like a new position within the DOJ as an attorney general. I don't know yet, and we'll see.
This is coming from the federal government, right?
Yeah, this is the federal government. Yeah, they're assigning a new attorney general to look over all fraud in numerous different states. We all know they're not going to look at states like Texas or Florida. We all know they're going to look at states like California, and they're going to be very conveniently picky about where they choose to send this attorney general.
Well, of course. Anyone else just like completely amused by the fact that of all people, it's like Elon Musk who's like, yes, there's so much fraud. There's an unbelievable amount of fraud. And then it's like he caught none of it during the Doge program. But he swears on his life that like there's just this endless deluge of fraud. It's hilarious to see, but it's insulting. It's mind-boggling.
Well, all the Republicans are cut up on that, and I think that at this point they kind of have to keep repeating the allegations. You know, a lie gets around the world while the truth is still tying its shoes, and they got to keep spitting out the lies, or people are going to catch up to them.
They got to like materialize it by like, what's the word? There's a funny word that people use where you like think about something enough and then it becomes true. It's like not materialize, but it's like
manifest.
Manifest, yes. You got to never stop manifesting. You got to keep manifesting. It's basically what's going on right now.
Yeah.
Ugh.
I'm actually looking at this. It looks like this is fairly recent, but it says Congresswoman Gladys Aurora Lopez was injured earlier this afternoon when she was struck by an explosive device thrown by apparent left-wing extremists outside the Legislative Palace for the National Congress of Honduras, and I cannot announce that name. It is so incredibly difficult to read.
So wait, this is a Republican congressman injured by supposedly a
there's a video of it. There's a video of it. I don't know if this is a congresswoman for the U.S. or if it's a congresswoman for Honduras.
I feel like that Gladys. Maybe. Checking on that. Breaking news. We're covering breaking news.
Yeah, a Honduran politician, so it's not a U.S. representative or anything.
I mean...
But nonetheless, pretty crazy.
Yeah. Do we have strong thoughts here about, what's his face? That guy, that very eccentric person who's running Honduras. Honduras. I'm thinking Argentina. Never mind. I'm totally off base right now. I'm thinking about Malay right now, but that's not related at all. At all.
I will make a quick note that it's quite funny because, I talked to some Democrats recently, and they were like really kind of digging on Malay, but didn't really know much about his policies. And honestly, as much as him and Trump are kind of buddy-buddy, their domestic policies are like night and day.
Oh yeah, we got one who's like the tariff king, and the other person who's like going full libertarian mode. They have very little in common, weirdly enough. But they love each other, which just shows like economics takes like a back seat to like whatever, like to whatever like the culture war is issue of the day.
Trump is openly embracing like full fascism, and Malay is like ultra libertarian. So.
Yeah. So I got one more question for you. So I know that the Biden DOJ actually found like some degree of fraud. So like, and Tim Walz resigned over it. So like, it exists, I guess, to an extent, to some capacity. I guess the GOP is exaggerating. Like what? I don't know. How do we address these kinds of like questions, or what is the answer to these kinds of questions?
Every state has fraud, right? Does Minnesota have more than other states? Honestly, I don't know. Um, but in every state, you will find people trying to scam the system, and you will find people in the system trying to take advantage of it as well. Yeah, so there's lots of fraud. I do wish it was something that our U.S. court system kind of took more seriously. I do think that kind of our courts, that third branch that we don't talk about as often, I think it's really they need to do more about fraud cases. Fraud just tends not to get as much attention as the other things that the courts do and deal with.
Why is that?
Yeah.
Like, why does that not get much attention?
I personally, I just think it's that, American people, we don't care as much. If it bleeds, it leads. If it lies,
It dies.
I guess it dies.
Well, it rhymes.
Yeah,
so
I think
has
that's
to
the big
true.
thing when it comes to like this fraud stuff is, it's not only just about how absurd the Shirley story was. It's also glaring how the right seems to have kind of disregarded, what was it, Rick Scott? That, I think it was Rick Scott, the one who had the Medicare company or whatever it was, right? Or was running the Medicare, running a healthcare company that had the one of the largest Medicaid frauds or something like that or whatever it was. I don't remember if that was Rick Scott, but
I don't know. I know that.
I mean, the GOP is like not paying attention to fraud within their own base. Absolutely. Like Trump is like
Right.
a glowing red. Like this whole like the fact that like Trump can get away with like the Bitcoin thing and he just like does it openly. Like it feels like back in the day, if you want to do some kind of crazy Bitcoin thing, you'd have to like do it and some reporter would have to find it out about it like 8 months later or something after like deep investigative journalism. And today, I don't know, they're just being fraudulent. Like, YOLO, basically. They're just being fraudulent and I mean, we're just kind of like chilling. We're like, all right, cool. Enjoy your fraud. Like, it's a very odd thing to see how little people care about fraud, actually.
Yes.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And I think we will see where this goes. I think it's also a huge distraction from the Epstein files. We saw where, as this was going on with the whole Nick Shirley drama, also alongside as well with the whole Venezuela thing, the deadline for the files and the deadline for the reporting to Congress for the redactions and things of that nature, that was Friday. And that was also the same time at which Donald Trump ended up going into Venezuela and taking Maduro.
I don't think that was coincidence. I think that was the whole entire reason.
Yeah, I tend to agree.
Every deadline you can just pat. That's like a comedy sketch. Like every Epstein-related deadline, it's just like spin the wheel to figure out who we're invading next.
And that's why
Pretty much.
That's why I always tell people is like, you can say that if most presidents, I feel like most presidential candidates, you could say, I don't know, it may have happened under the other person, so on and so forth. With everything that's going on with the invasion of Venezuela and the talks of coercing, to put it mildly, Greenland's citizens to somehow be turned over, which I don't know if y'all heard about that. They're talking about sending stimulus checks between $10,000 up to $100,000 each to citizens. I'm like, this sounds exactly like what Russia did with Eastern Ukraine, right?
Yep.
So taking a playbook right out of Russia's, or taking a play right out of Russia's playbook. And so
Again.
yeah, I know. Again, I can confidently say this: Kamala Harris would not have done any of this. Like, I can confidently say that this would not have happened under Kamala Harris. I mean, the world is extremely unstable as it is, and it in the way that the world is run right now, I can't say that what's happening in Iran. I think that what's happening in Iran may or may not have happened. I think I could probably say it's Trump booming the nuclear facilities might have had some kind of an impact. I don't know if Trump really had much of an impact on Iran. I think stuff would still be popping off.
Actually, something that had a big impact on Iran was the attack on Venezuela. So I don't know if you guys.
Okay.
Perfect segue,
so
dude. That's the segue we were looking for.
So periodically, the people of Iran rise up because the government, the Ayatollah's Guardian Council, are very unpopular with the majority of people. It's a government by force, and they simply have never had enough thugs in Iran to suppress the people. So they've always had to look for outside help. Two in particular, Russia and Venezuela,
I thought you
have
were gonna say
always
North Korea.
sent mercenaries and forces when needed to suppress the people of Iran. And, another thing with using your own people is like, if you use your own people, well, that might be their cousin out in the street. They're not going to shoot them, so on. It's a problem. Russia does this by, we're going to grab troops from the Far East and they're going to suppress people in the West. We're going to send people from the West and they're going to suppress people in the Far East. So Russia is such a vast country that they don't run into that. But there's always a problem when you're using, violence of the dictator kind that, your thugs may run into people that they know that, they
Don't want to hurt.
absolutely are not going to fight. They may even switch sides suddenly.
And we've seen that with Iran, where some of the troops or police or whatever they're called over there have laid down their arms, from my understanding, and have joined the protesters.
Yep. Hey, cousin, you're protesting? Well, I guess I'm a protester now.
Yeah. And I think there's something to be said, too, about the power in numbers. And I think that the regime over there recognizes that, and they're very aware of what's going out onto social media. And just like North Korea being super, trying to be isolationist and control their internet and things like that, I think the same thing happened here, where Iran's like, holy shit, the rest of the world is seeing how much they're uprising. And there's a lot of locations in Iran where they are rising up, like a lot.
Yeah.
I was seeing a map of all the little dots of where there's mass protests breaking out. I don't know. I'm not, a historian for Iran, but I could say it does feel like this is some kind of a historical movement that we haven't seen recently. That's the vibes I get from it.
It's
just based on
definitely
what I'm
never been this big. I don't think it's been this big before.
I wouldn't say it's new, and I do think it has been this big before. There was massive riots in the capital, and that was when they really brought in Russia and Venezuelan like snipers and shot people and violently suppressed them. Venezuela is calling like everybody back home now, right?
Oh, because they're
With
worried
Trump
about a
bombing
second
them
invasion.
and Maduro gone. There's a big shuffling. They're like, Venezuela is saying, hey, we can't help anybody right now. We got to be ready to fight the Americans.
You know what this actually reminds me of? Sorry to interrupt you. You know what this reminds me of? It reminds me of how Assad fell because Israel had messed up Hezbollah so badly.
Yep, exactly. Yeah, and so that's kind of the chain on effect. I'm really hoping Trump doesn't screw it up because the Iranian people really deserve their freedom in their moment. Inevitably, it's going to happen. I just hope that it happens now. It would be great for the world.
I'm just a little bit worried about the sheer number of, like, the sheer amount of unrest in the world right now. And maybe it's just because, I've had the comfort of living in the United States. But, like, I look at the Middle East where you have Israel and obviously Gaza and, forgive me in my terrible geography, Lebanon, I think it is, or Syria, whichever one it is, just north. Yeah,
North
I
is
think it's
Lebanon.
Both
right?
of those are to the north, yeah.
Technically.
Okay. Well, there you go. You get the point. And then you obviously have Iran. There's the stuff going on with India and Pakistan. We have China and Taiwan, Russia and Ukraine.
Cambodia was in the news not that long ago.
Yeah. So, and then we've obviously had a little bit of the North Korea stuff because the little man
It's
up
Donald
there
Trump,
was
you gotta-
feeling left out. So he threw one rocket into the Sea of Japan to make himself feel relevant, I guess. But now, obviously, on our side of the hemisphere, we have Donald Trump, who is essentially declaring himself now the president of the Western Hemisphere.
Basically,
I mean,
Yeah,
without
it's just-
congressional
it-
approval.
And I
just
always
feels
love
like-
how when he says our hemisphere, he never says Western. Like, oh, do you mean the Northern? Because you're kind of abandoning Europe and Asia.
Right. Well, that's the
Oh no, we're going to
narrative
go all the
now.
way down to South America, which is not any bit, closer than Europe and Asia. But okay.
Yeah, this is their new narrative too that I've heard espoused from this administration. Is like, well, Donald Trump is ensuring the protection of the Western Hemisphere. It's like we really left the "Make America Great Again" movement like way behind, and I feel like ever since Doge, yeah.
Now
to
they
his
understand.
credit, he didn't say which America.
There you go.
May have just
Fair.
said South America.
See, this is actually
Fair.
unironically how like Trump supporters defend Trump. Like unironically, it's like, well, you got to understand
It
if
really
you just
is.
take like the most random interpretation possible, it's not technically a lie. You know what I mean? Like he said, "Make
Well,
America."
so- I was on TikTok, so I get on TikTok a ton. Literally almost every day I go on there just to debate some people. I also find it really fun to do and get out of the YouTube debate sphere because you meet and engage with like normal people on TikTok, not people who are trying to make a career out of their debating. So it's kind of pleasure. It's like nice to get in there and talk with them. And I'll tell you, it's exactly like you said. I engaged with a lot of people who at the time, when there was talks about invading Venezuela, I heard a bunch of people on the right go, no, I'm not going to support Trump if he does this or that or the other. And then he did it. And their argument was, well, it wasn't really an invasion because they were in and out. I'm like, so we're going to move the goalpost, right? Like this is the continual goalpost moving. Like we all have an equal understanding of what Trump meant by saying no new wars, right? Talking about no more neocons. We saw it with Stephen Miller where he posted on November, like it was like November 1st of 24, where he was saying that with Kamala Harris, we would see endless invasions, endless wars. We knew what they meant. But then the moment that Trump actually started taking actions in other countries, that's not really a war. War is only declared by Congress.
So
It's like,
there's this woman on Fox News, I forgot which one, but her clip went hella viral. I don't know if you saw it, where she said, like, can someone explain to me how people are... Okay, so sorry, I was reading a comment, which I'll get to in a second. Someone on Fox News, and it went viral, said, can someone explain to me how, trafficking cocaine up to, the United States, which people are, consenting to doing, right? People choose it, even if it's a bad decision. But trafficking cocaine is like, a declaration of war, but then when you invade another country, arrest their leader, and then, like, declare you're gonna run the country, that's not a war. That's just, like, a gamer moment, It's just you having a good time.
Yeah. And the weird thing is that there's actually some legal context to it.
Oh, no.
Because Congress has made a mess of things. So Maduro was never the recognized leader of Venezuela by the United States. He lost the election, right? So legally, and this is what they'll try to do when they hold him under trial, he's not the sovereign of another country, right? He is simply a wanted criminal who was posing as the leader of another country. Because legally, there is no right to just invade some other country and arrest its leader because you want to. And it would be highly illegal if there wasn't for, that little Iraq war authorization for the use of military force, which ended up just being kind of a blank check to go after anybody anywhere in the name of terrorism and stopping crime.
yeah, I mean, that's kind of the important thing too, right? Is that like, that's kind of the other important thing is that with this Maduro thing, he's only able to do so because of the fact that he was not recognized as the formal like president of Venezuela. But the little caveat in that is I remember seeing where Trump tweeting as much as he does is a detriment to himself, especially when it comes to court cases that are extremely contentious. He himself recognized Maduro as the quote unquote president of Venezuela in one of his Truth Social posts. So, yeah. So it's like every time I can only imagine being a lawyer in this administration. Like you have to try to bend backwards and like twist like 500 times to be able to like justify some of the stuff that's going on.
Yeah.
And that's why I was telling people, like, when it comes to this whole thing going on in Minnesota, it's like every time these guys come out here and decide to like put politics before, justice, they end up shooting themselves in the foot, right? Like this happened with Kash Patel and the Charlie Kirk incident. It kind of got quiet a little bit, but his words at the press conferences of not knowing who the suspect was, saying we got him, oh wait we don't, oh we got him, that was used in the in some of the, I think, the preliminary hearings, if I'm not mistaken. So this is an entire fiasco with the legal thing. I would not be surprised in the slightest if Maduro ends up walking, which is going to cause a whole nother set of events that take place.
That would be unreal if Maduro walked, because Trump just can't stop tweeting. That would be like the ultimate meme. Someone in the chat asked, why are people saying Vance ended his political career today? I did not hear. Vance has been saying a lot of stupid things. Nothing particularly dumb from what I can tell.
Oh, he talked about the death of the woman in Minnesota and completely was justifying it. I don't remember the comment. It was pretty sickening.
Calling her a domestic terrorist, I think is one
yeah.
of them.
So what's new? Why is
you
that
know, and
ending
if you
his-
saw this video of this woman, and a lot of stuff is made up. She dropped her kid off at school. She was on the road. There were people there who were filming. I've heard reports that she was filming, but most of that is coming from like ICE and Homeland Security. So I don't know if that's true or not. I don't see any evidence from any of the videos that she was recording ICE.
I don't know if that matters too much.
Yeah, no, it shouldn't.
Shouldn't,
But
yeah.
she was off to the side of the road. Other cars had gone by. She was kind of in the way, I guess, blocking one lane, but she wasn't obstructing. Traffic was going through. Another ICE vehicle went through. And it looks like, to me, this ICE thug, he just wanted to kill somebody. And she was in the wrong place at the wrong time.
Want to get his stripes
Yeah, there's a-
by saying, avoid kills.
There is a. Sorry, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, some people like they have such a childish opinion of like law enforcement that they just think they're earning their stripes, if you will, by doing so.
Yeah.
Well, the thing about this incident, which is kind of crazy to me, is every which way you cut this. So Chrissy Nome initially came out and she was like, "Oh, he was stuck in the snow." It's like and this was after the video, or yeah, she said this after the videos were out. So like everybody was listening to this going, "You're just patently lying." Like I've never seen a worse lie in my entire life. And she doubled and tripled down on it. But the idea that they were even like blocked from going forward, there, if you look at where that street sits, there's actually like another intersection towards the rear, like where their vehicle was. If they turned around, they could have gone to the stop sign. And then the other thing that I'm curious about, as I kind of think about it and I sit on it a little bit, the other thing was, what gives them the right? I mean, I don't know what kind of laws federal immigration officials really have on this end, but why are they now trying to conduct what would otherwise be a local law enforcement thing about impeding a roadway? That sounds something like local officials could handle. And there's a million other ways to go about it. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. There is a precedent, unfortunately, that we have let Customs and Border Patrol set up road checks up to 100 miles from the border.
Yeah.
Where they can just stop people and check ID, right? Not that U.S. citizens are required to carry ID, proving your citizenship.
Yeah. Well, and I tell people this too. It's very difficult sometimes with these kinds of cases to really give you like a split opinion on this. And I've tried, I was tempted. I was like, man, I want to comment on this on X, but I was like, given the heated nature, people won't really see what I'm trying to say. There's the legal review of this, right? Which is this officer probably committed second-degree manslaughter, and that bears out through his training. This bears out through the fact that he acted with a complete disregard to human life. And so do I think they can get him on second degree? Yes. Do I see a situation in which there's a weird jury that gets put together and he gets off on it because maybe, they view law enforcement as, it's certainly a possibility. But I think the other angle to this is the moral argument, which was, should they have even been there to begin with, right? If not for ICE being deployed to Minnesota, she would still be alive to today, right? And I think that's something that we have to discuss as well, is that what actions did these officers take that could have been completely avoided to begin with?
A lot of different things.
And so
let me address a few points there. So first of all, on the manslaughter, I could see that argument being made in court if he only fired one shot, but he didn't. He fired at least 4. Yeah, he was making sure she was dead. And that was not a stop. She was moving away. She is not obstructing. She's not doing anything. She's trying to get away from the scene, which she was instructed to do, right? So she is complying. So there's no law enforcement pretext there at all.
Yeah,
and
I think the problem...
He's trying to get away. He shoots her. He has no cause to shoot her. There's no threat. There's no clear and present danger. She's not trying to hit him. She is instructed to move away, and she begins to comply with that order. Plus, I don't know if she saw him draw his gun or not. And he's in the clear. The video makes clear. He is in the clear. He's not... Tries to get in front.
Agreed.
But, she pulls away before he can get in front, and he makes sure that he's not in the way. And then he starts to shoot, hits her, and then shoots her again and again. And I think the 4th shot missed. Not sure. And then they delayed calling ambulance. They didn't let medical aid come.
Yes.
Good God.
Yes. So
I didn't even know that. That is inexcusable.
That is a deliberate act of murder. And I don't see any jury coming to any other conclusion, just based on that.
I can see... I would agree with the first degree aspect to this, right? I think I just don't have that strong of a faith in our juries today where that'll be what they do. Now, there's certainly a possibility depending on who they get put up there. But I think that there's a good chance that you're going to have a split jury when it comes to first degree, and they would end up settling for the lesser charge. I know that these are how they tend to play out.
First degree homicide usually means premeditated. I wouldn't go that far. Now, prosecutors, when they want to get somebody off, they often overcharge. So they will say something like, "Oh, first degree murder. Oh, I couldn't get it. Crazy jury. I charged him with murder." And people don't understand that the prosecutor was deliberately, throwing the case by saying first degree, which means you have to prove that they planned on this in advance and it wasn't just a heat of the moment type thing.
Yeah.
But second degree or third degree homicide, I would say that it looks from the video evidence to be a lock and shut case.
Oh yeah, it should be pretty easy. The issue they're going to have to overcome, and some people, I've seen this float around on social media, is the idea of federal immunity. Federal immunity is not how this works. If they are acting outside the scope of their duties, they can absolutely be charged by the state. There's nothing to stop them there. In fact, the immunity case, a lot of people don't even understand it's about qualified immunity either. The federal immunity thing doesn't prevent the officer being, what's that called? Not dog walked. When they get put in front of the cameras, perp walked. Does not prevent them from being perp walked into a jail cell and being booked and then charged. Because guess what? There's a hearing that takes place for any kind of immunity claims. And even then, that would have to, this is where I say that the policy is very important here. I've seen some people try to do the whole policy is law, and they're just fundamentally wrong on that. The thing about the policy that's more important here is the scope of his duties and whether or not he acted with reckless disregard. In other words, you were trained on these policies. You knew what you were doing. I saw this play out with George Floyd and Derek Chauvin, by the way. This is the same kind of situation here, which, crazy enough, this incident took place, I heard, 5 or 10 minutes from where George Floyd was killed. So the federal immunity, they can still charge him. They'll have to go through a court hearing in order to determine whether or not the officer qualifies for federal immunity. But it doesn't mean that the federal government is going to work with the local government. And right now, they're showing they're not going to work with the local government, and they may. Even
And
try to
that
help.
is conspiracy and obstruction. Which there is impeachment. I don't know that they'll get the Republicans to sign on for it, but that is an impeachable offense. Kristi Noem is conspiring to impede a state murder investigation.
100%. Yeah, I mean, and that's the crazy thing about all of this is the federal government seems to be doing everything they can to protect this individual. Ironically enough, though, the way that they found out the identity of this officer was because of them consistently saying, well, this officer was struck by a vehicle 6 months ago. So apparently journalists went in and did their research. Like, these people are so inept that they're like trying to protect this guy that they ended up inadvertently doxing them.
Yeah, that's pretty. It's pretty 900 IQ right there. Someone in the chat wrote a while back is that like what the was talking about. 709 was talking about what is relatable to people. I think it's just people playing party lines because, and I have a meme coming out about this later. Spoiler alert for those of you who follow Project Liberal on our socials. You should do it. Where like people, MAGA comes out and they're like, oh my gosh, like this woman, this Renee Good woman, like she should have complied. She deserved to get shot. She was in the way. Screw her, right? And then you turn around, and you ask them like, oh, okay, what about Ashley Babbitt? You want to talk about someone who like quote unquote deserved to get shot? Like they told her not. She jumped over a barrier where officers were like pointing a firearm at her. And yeah, then she got shot. And like MAGA will talk about her like she's a saint. The federal government settled with her family for millions of dollars. And
Under orders by the Trump administration.
Yes. And it's like, what are we doing here?
I do want to mention too, just as an FYI for anybody who is out of the loop, I'm kind of this big news guy that gets into a lot of the weeds of this. I am unfortunately too much online on X, but I like being informed. There were 2 more people that were, and I want to see the facts of this because this seems too wild to be true and way too conveniently on timing. 2 people who were in a vehicle. Homeland DHS has come out on a post and said that these 2 people were believed to have been Trende Aragua.
Which 2 people? Oh.
Part of it, yeah, saying part of a I'm going to make sure I correct myself and say exactly what they said. The passenger of the vehicle and target is a Venezuelan illegal alien affiliated with the transnational Tren de Aragua prostitution ring and involved in a recent shooting in Portland.
If they call you Tren de Aragua, they can do whatever they want to you. That's like their policy.
And so what they said is that, and I kid you not, this is way too convenient, but I swear this is what it says. When agents identify themselves to the vehicle occupants, the driver weaponized his vehicle and attempted to run over the law enforcement agents. Fearing for his life and safety, an agent fired a defensive shot, which, by the way, there's no such thing as a warning shot. Well, there is, but anyways, driver drove off with the passenger fleeing the scene. You can't make this up. You can't make this up. So these 2 individuals are in the hospital. I think their condition is unknown at the time, but it does sound like they ended up driving themselves to the hospital or something along those lines, or maybe they pulled over or something. But yeah, so another DHS or I think Border Patrol's under DHS shooting and with a vehicle. Can't make this up.
Oh, according to this, they're both still alive. Shot and wounded.
Well, at least they're still alive, so there's that.
Yeah, I feel like
I'm just worried for our country. If there was ever a time to have a upside down distressed flag, I would say right now our country is in serious trouble.
Yeah, it's going to be a tough year to get through.
It is going to be a tough year.
We're only like
and Trump is so worried about the midterms, and I don't know why he thinks this is helping him.
You gotta. He's doing his old playbook. Like the playbook that got him, as far as it's gotten him so far, is never apologize, quadruple down. Your side is never wrong. Like that's how they got. And you know what? I can't even be mad because it does kind of work. Like, you know, you would think that they would never be able to get around Jan 6, but they just like, no. Jan 6 is our heroes. Like, fuck you. And you know what? He got elected off it. He told the world he was going to pardon. He was going to pardon, you know, the Jan 6ers, and he did. Like, triple down. Just quadruple down. When in doubt, just quadruple down.
I want to poke y'all's minds a little bit here on this. And I, in my conversations today on TikTok, it made me think that they wanted to own the libs so much that they inadvertently became authoritarian in their quest to own the libs. Like, in other words, it didn't start out with an authoritarian mindset from MAGA. Rather, they wanted to own the libs, even no matter how cruel it really was. And they have now taken... It's kind of like the person who maybe hits somebody with a bat, but then when they're on the ground, they proceed to hit them about 1,000 times. So they go from what may have been, like, let's say, ag assault, to then ramping up to murder. I know the analogy is kind of crazy, but, like,
No,
it's to say that it started off with Make America Great Again. Hey, let's own the libs. Let's give them a taste of what we went through. And now they just, like, proceeded to continuously punch and punch and punch, and they've now become inadvertently authoritarian.
Oh, I don't think it's inadvertent at all. These are not your grandpa's conservatives.
Not at all.
There is no mindset to MAGA. MAGA is based on hate the left, right? And so any authority, any violence, everything is justified because of this demonization and hatred. And I will say, you know, that there are some things that the left could improve on. Not saying that the violence is deserved, but there are a lot of things that have been done to alienate people. Like the young men who voted for Trump. So Democrats can and need to do better because, but, you know, again, no excuses. Anybody who's justifying this kind of violence, shooting this mother, you've really, you have no moral compass if you do that.
Yeah.
Well,
I don't know. Like, it's look, every in my opinion, every person is different. Everyone has their motivations to vote for MAGA. Those who did. I kind of like, I don't know. I heard Megyn Kelly and Ben Shapiro make that argument that, like, they were just so triggered by, like, Barack Obama that they just felt like this was a lash out. Look, there's some, like, 12 IQ gamer dudes who, like, probably voted for that reason. But I just, like, you gotta keep them on the hook of this. Like, you can't, like, to an extent, I feel like that's, like, I don't want to say, it's just, like, an excuse, you know? It's them, like, well, okay, yeah, I fucked up this country, but, like, did you know that it's your fault? Like, it doesn't, I suck at this game. It really just doesn't strike me as, like, it strikes me a little bit as victim blaming. Like, people like Ben Shapiro should have known better than to vote for Donald Trump. And they did know better. Not just should have known better. They did know better, yeah. And they chose to vote for Donald Trump. You know, and I'm just not amused by this, like, well, it's actually your fault kind of attitude that them and Megyn Kelly have put out. I don't know. I'm not vibing with it.
Yeah. Sorry, I was trying to say something.
Okay.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. I'm a little worried about, you know, where we're going. It seems like, you know, we talked about it before.
Really quick, someone in the comments made a good argument. Just said MAG is just an angry mob. LARPing is a coalition, which I do feel that way because, like, that coalition appears to
absolutely.
be really on the.
That's my take on it as well. And, you know, unfortunately, you know, there were a lot of conservatives who in 2020 they wised up, they didn't go out to vote for Trump, and they forgot their lesson, and they voted for him again. And I know a lot of them are against a lot of stuff that's happening now. They're, you know, as you know, I'm involved a lot with the Ukraine issue, and there's a lot of people who genuinely believe Trump when he said, "Oh, I'll make peace on the first day, because
good meme.
there was criticism to be had of how Biden handled it weakly. But anybody who is paying attention, like, no, he's not, and he didn't, and you're chumps, and look at what you got. Nothing.
So someone in the thanks for your comments, Seamus. So he wrote, this guy named Seamus wrote, "What does it mean to be a better Democrat? Is there actually a Democrat that the left actually, that's non-socialist, that the left actually likes?" That's a great question. And so two things. Number one, like, one of the things that I do think that there's this realignment that's occurring where, you know, a lot of the people that are now going to be part of the Dem coalition are like, you know, people like David and Josh, who are, you know, more historically associated with, you know, the Libertarian Party or even the Tea Party in Josh's case. But the annoying part to your question, the annoying answer. So number one, I think the goal is to expand the coalition by, like, you know, beyond just leftists, because like leftists I think are like big purity testers, and that makes it really tough to get them to, you know, join us. But the other thing to consider there is the other thing I was gonna say is, yeah, there is a non-socialist that left really likes, and he just resigned, unfortunately. Or it's Tim Walz. Like, the left really did like Tim Walz, but unfortunately,
You know,
I don't know how to feel
the
about
guy
it.
I'm watching, and he hasn't thrown his hat in the ring, but I hope he will for 2028, is Pennsylvania Governor Josh Shapiro.
Josh Shapiro's
So-
great.
Yep. So you want me to name a non-socialist that I would support? There you go.
No, I agree. Josh Shapiro is fantastic. I hope he runs. He's popular in Pennsylvania. Having Pennsylvania blue on the outset is very...
Yeah, it's one of the
very
key
good.
swing states you need to win. So, you know, if you can prevail, he's going to take Pennsylvania with him, which is a good start. And then someone who can appeal to one swing state most likely can appeal to others.
Yeah.
The worst thing Democrats can do is nominate a far lefty and give Republicans a chance. Like, don't do it. We got to clean up after Trump.
Do you consider Gavin, like, Gavin is not far left, but he's like Californian, and so in Republican,
No, I
he's
consider
far left.
him, you know, he is kind of a mainstream Democrat, really, but the perception is that he's far left because he's a California Democrat. And honestly, that's not going to play well in large parts of America. Yeah, it should not be a West Coast Democrat. It should not be a New England Democrat. Really look to the swing states and who plays well there in the swing states.
Yep.
That's who we should be looking for, in my opinion, for president in 2028.
I agree.
I like to troll around a little bit and always say, listen, I think Kamala Harris would be a great 2028 candidate. I like
You're
I like to
memeing?
sit
I
there
think
and
she's
go-
going to run, though.
I do think she's going to run, actually, unironically.
Yeah.
I do think she's going to run, but I think
She needs to Al
I mean,
Gore it
look.
up and leave with dignity.
it's definitely recency bias, and she definitely has the name, but I will say it's very surprising to see how well she's doing in the polls for being, for the most part, pretty quiet for the past year, but she's still holding up pretty strong in public polls. So,
We're almost 3 years out from the next presidential election. And, you know, there aren't other names out there, right?
Yeah.
So, of course, she's doing well.
I know. Yeah, I said I'd be interested to see. I get a lot of flack because I'm in Texas, and there is obviously Talarico is running, and I'm a little disappointed with what I feel was as a feeling. It's not fact based, but it feels like Colin Allred was running, and then it's conveniently timed that he drops out at the same time that Crockett announces she's running. I don't know. I'm just saying, I think the Democratic Party was like, hey, Allred, maybe sit this one out. I don't know. Just felt very convenient
Yeah.
on that timing.
I think that's fine. At least give us Kamala. We were all busy that day. That's a meme from Morbius. There was a meme. So He wrote, "Please give us Kamala." We were all busy that day. Back in the day, do you guys remember the movie Morbius? Morbius. Do you guys remember? There was like a meme where like Morbius became a meme, and so they put it back in the theaters and it bombed again, and so then there became like another meme. It's one of the few double bombings, and so they tried to get. There was a petition that got like millions or hundreds of thousands of signatures, and it literally just said like, "Please give us Morbius a third time." We were all busy that day. Any Morb heads?
Hey,
Mom said it's your turn to
that
take
I think
Morbius.
is relevant to break into here. Sorry to interrupt you, Oren. I think it's pretty
No, go for
big breaking news.
I'm listening.
Trump just announced on an exclusive interview with Hannity. This
Oh,
was
boy.
2 minutes ago.
2 minutes ago.
And we are going to start now hitting land with regard to the cartels. The cartels
Land.
are running Mexico. Let me go ahead and
Wait,
see
that
if I
means he's
can-
bombing Mexico? Is that the correct interpretation?
Yes.
Boys. The
Wow.
I cannot believe our FIFA Prize Laureate is doing this. Our FIFA Peace Prize Laureate is bombing Mexico. Unbelievable.
Why doesn't he get the Nobel Peace Prize?
Your guess is as good as mine. That, like, we're
So
all
I'm
just,
trying
like,
to
sitting
hear
here
the
quiet,
audio.
like, nobody knows even how to react.
I'm trying to find the
I'm trying to get
audio.
anything current on it because I'm not seeing it right now. But
FIFA's already losing. Why did FIFA give is it because, like, Qatar gives them a lot of money and they, like, ask them to do it? What is the story on, like, why FIFA
no,
is, like,
because he was gonna block them basically.
Oh my god, dude.
I think they wanted to have a game here in the U.S. or something, and Trump was threatening to block them, and they're like, "Oh, we'll give you the Peace Prize," and all of a sudden everything's good.
That is, like,
It-
the most
As usual,
embarrassing-
Trump wanted a bribe, and they gave him something that cost them nothing.
It's actually, like, embarrassing to, like, have this guy as my president. Just, like, he's so, like...
It is.
He's so easily manipulated, dude. Like, I don't even know how he doesn't see through that. I don't know why he thinks that that's, like... It's so, like, I don't even have words for it. Like, we'll give you our FIFA... Like, if they were giving peace prizes before, fine, maybe. They promised him the FIFA prize, and whatever. I'm over it. I'm not over it, but, like, that's actually just, like... Who does he think he's fooling? Is there MAGA people who are, like, sincere, who are not dumb, who are like, no, yeah, the FIFA prize. Actually, though, I can't even. I don't even know what to. We're not even on Venezuela yet, and already we're just. Okay, so we're going on the ground in Mexico. Terrific.
Yeah, let me see if I can route this real quick so you can hear it. Give me one
Yeah, if you
second
can get through your
here.
mic. I could minimize the stream and start sharing. That's another option. Did I just go backwards? Fudge me, dude. I might have just, like...
Okay, there we go. So I have it on voice activity now. Can you hear me?
Yeah?
Okay, cool. Let me play this and hopefully not blow out anybody's eardrums. So I'll start pretty mild.
And we are going to start now hitting land with regard to the cartels. The cartels are running Mexico. It's very, very sad to watch and see what's happened to that country. But the cartels are running, and they're killing 250, 300,000 people in our country every single year. The drugs, it's horrible. It's devastated families. You know, you lose a child or a parent. I mean, parents are dying too with drugs.
So there you go.
Strap in. The peace president is about to leave people in pieces, I guess.
You know, it's crazy to me too. I don't know if it's just me or if anybody else has noticed, but ever since he was denied the Peace Prize, it feels like he just went full like mask off and said like he's like on a rage tour now. Like, fine, y'all didn't want a Peace Prize.
I'm gonna
I'll
get the
show
war
you something
prize.
It's not peace.
I'm
Yeah,
gonna get the war prize. I'm either gonna get the war prize or the peace prize.
this is insane.
That's actually a good meme. I might have to make that a meme. Like, all right, no peace prize. It's time to get the war prize. I would do that, but I feel like MAGA would tweet it out unironically. Like, yeah, exactly.
They jumped on top of Brian Krasenstein for just simply tweeting out the officer's name in Minneapolis. Like he just posted. Now, granted, Brian invites a lot of like MAGA that like absolutely go crazy on X against him. So
Yeah.
I'm just wondering what it's going to take for congressional Republicans to stop them.
That's a great question.
I think they're starting to crack, believe it or not.
I mean,
I think they are too.
I feel like this is the
They're-
300th time I've heard this.
No.
This is like starting to crack
I-
opium.
No, Oren. So here's the thing: is today there again? Unfortunately, the big news story right now, and fortunately, but unfortunately at the same time, the big news story right now is Minneapolis. So all the spotlights over there, but nobody's paying attention to what's happening in Congress. So maybe that's why Republicans decided to do it. But the Republicans ended up voting. There was, I think, like 5 or 6 Republican senators
5. Yeah.
to side with the War Powers Resolution Act to tamper Trump's power in Venezuela in the Senate, not the House. In the House, they're thin on their margins now. They're like one vote away from losing their majority.
I actually
So
knew the
that's what I
congressman.
said.
I actually knew the
Yeah,
congressman.
but
died.
that's due to empty seats. So
Right, that's fair.
it so it
Congressman
doesn't
died
mean like
2
they just
years
need to
ago,
flip
yeah.
one Republican for Democrats to get legislation through. Let's be clear about that. And some of those seats will probably be filled by Republicans again.
Jeez, Charlie. I do agree with there's a user who just said that like if Charlie Kirk was here, tell the victim she deserved it. I do think that's right. Unfortunately, he would probably side with ICE, but so is everyone else, every other Republican.
Yeah, and Trump went on Truth Social and raged against those 5 Republicans, saying that they should be challenged, they should never be reelected. So yes, thanks Trump. Start breaking them away. Maybe they'll get more bold, like Thomas Massey now.
Maybe
this is
Collins
insane.
is. I wonder. You think Collins is going to take it? I don't. You think she's going to get reelected? It'd be impressive. She got the W.
Don't even care right now. I just want her to spend the rest of the year voting against Trump.
That's quite on the list of possibilities at this point.
When is she up for reelection anyways?
This year, 2026.
This year? Okay.
You didn't hear about Nazi tattoo Graham Blatner? You didn't hear about that whole? That was.
Yeah, but I didn't remember. It's Senate, so it's every 6 years.
Oh, him. Okay, I was thinking of that ICE agent that they busted. I'm like, what?
Apparently an ICE agent had a Nazi tattoo on his.
Yeah,
neck?
he had like allegedly. I don't know. Not allegedly
yeah.
on the tattoo. The tattoo was definitely there, but I don't know if he was an actual ICE agent or not. But he was like, "Oh no, it was long time ago or whatever." It's like,
Yeah, Collins is the only one of the 5 that's up for reelection this year. Okay, I've got to take a 10-minute break here, guys.
Yep,
Keep on going, and I'll be back.
See ya.
Absolutely. I'm keeping an eye out on here to see what's going down.
We still got when he comes back. We still got to talk about Venezuela. That's a whole. There's 2 more topics I want to cover in the next hour, which is Venezuela and Iran. We talked a little bit about Iran.
Where'd you run to?
I love puns.
What was that? Isn't that how
Iran.
What was the famous Bush thing that he would always say? Was it Al Qaeda? Or what was it his thing? There was something I remember Bush saying that everybody used to make fun of because of the way that he would pronounce it or whatever. It
Nuclear?
was something to do with the Middle East. No, it was the Middle East. It was like the way he pronounced the country, whether it was like Afghanistan or Al Qaeda. I can't remember. He never called it by its like actual pronunciation. I'll remember it eventually. Looking through here.
Yeah. That's so what happened was supposedly some dude ran up to an individual and was like, "Oh, you're an ICE agent, you have tattoos on." And he didn't deny that he was an ICE agent, but Could have been a sketch or something. You know, we got to be careful with that stuff these days.
Yeah, I actually had a really interesting story from work. Crazy enough,
I feel that way
the
too.
one guy that I was working with ended up having some of those tattoos, and it kind of threw me off a little bit. I'm like, oh wow, that's kind of. Now listen, I'm not saying it's right, but what happened was I started to talk to him, and it was actually really fascinating to hear. So he ended up, when he was a child, his stepdad was extremely abusive and was a white supremacist, and ended up forcing him as a child to get those tattoos on him. And he said he's been working to cover them up, and he did cover up a few of them. He said, but and cover-ups are, to be honest, pretty expensive.
Yeah.
And laser removal is even more expensive.
Yes.
So it's not to justify the tattoos, but it was interesting to hear his story and his backstory, because whether it's true or not, and maybe that's something that he made up, it's certainly possible. I'm a very trusting person, though. It's not something out of the realm that I could also see doing as well. So it was just an interesting
That's fair.
backstory.
Yeah, that's true. All right.
Trump on Venezuela. It was stolen from us. About the oil industry, it was stolen from us, and I just took it back. There's some suggestions from some of the oil executives I'd seen where they were like upset with the fact that they don't have any security guarantees essentially in Venezuela, and they're like, they don't want foreign policy to be based on a tweet, which is valid, right? Like, you're gonna go send all of your workers into Venezuela to pump all this wonderful oil, right? And then Donald Trump has like a bad day, tweets, we're going to war with Venezuela, and now guess what? That rig gets seized by the Venezuelan government, and now you have 4 prisoners of war. Like,
It's almost as if having a child who is not checked by Congress is actually bad for business in the long and short term.
right, exactly. So
What a mess.
yeah, I'm just trying to keep an eye on all this. It's amazing how Hannity.
I am back.
What's
Okay,
up?
maybe you can help me with this one. All right, so what was that one word that Bush always pronounced in a very weird way, David? I can't remember that one. I don't know if it was Al Qaeda or if what it was. It was something about the Middle East.
If we're talking about W. Bush, there's certainly more than one word. Strategery. That's one
There
I
was
remember.
like one that Republicans continued to mispronunciate for like years to come too because of the Bush. I don't know. I'm gonna remember it, I swear, because it's gonna bother me. I think it may have been Al Qaeda.
There were lots of things.
I don't think we've actually touched
Lots
on...
of Bushisms.
Yeah, there's a lot of Bushisms. I don't think we actually ended up talking about Venezuela yet. I need to look up where to go, dude. I'm lost. What do we think about Venezuela?
This was pointless overall. I know that a lot of Venezuelans are happy that Maduro was removed, but we're leaving the Chavista government in control. His vice president's taken over. So it's not really going to accomplish much. I do hope at least that it's enough of a distraction. They can't help Iran, and maybe the Iranian people can do something. But it didn't accomplish anything for the U.S. or for Venezuela. Just Trump really needed a distraction from the Epstein files.
Supposedly, the difference maker was that he didn't like seeing Maduro dance. I don't know if you actually believe
Yes. And he was at I think it was at the Republican conference or whatever it was that Trump was giving a speech, and he was like talking about Maduro's dancing. So I think he let the cat out of the bag that he was actually legitimately pissed about Maduro like mocking Trump's dance, which is crazy, but it's not surprising.
Yeah,
that.
I can see why that would.
We need to get Putin to like do the dance, and like the Ukraine war is going to change on a.
That would be good. That would be good. That's for sure.
They're going to write about that in the history books. And then at the final hour, Donald Trump realized what he had to do based on the worst principle imaginable. But we take these W's where we can get them.
Oh my God. Okay, so if
What's
this
that?
is true, this is bad. Portland police say the two people that were shot by CBP called the police themselves after being shot by federal agents, and the police provided medical assistance.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah.
If they
I
split up, to
really
be fair,
suspect they're not Tren de Aragua. That's going to come out. I mean, what do you do if you have a run-in with the federal cops? You go to the local cops, right? So long as you're not a gang member. If you're a gang member, you're not going to do that. The idea of Tren de Aragua in Portland, Oregon. Portland, Oregon is one of the whitest cities in the U.S.
Yeah,
Sorry if
that would be
you've
amazing.
ever been there. It is not a city with a lot of diversity. Not the complete absence, but yeah, Oregon, you could
apparently.
do with more immigrants.
Apparently, the president is
Yeah.
meeting with the ex-Iranian monarch. That is interesting.
I will say this about Canada,
Uh-oh.
though.
What's
That's
up?
the one thing I'm really afraid of that Trump can do to screw up Iran. That
make it a
is to
dictatorship.
back putting the Shah back in power. So there is a popular movement with Iranian exiles in the U.S. to put the Shah's family back in power. They are absolutely hated in Iran. If you want to unite the revolutionaries on the ground with the Islamic government, that's what you do. They will unite against the Shah. Yeah, that's awful.
Yeah.
I didn't know, but that makes. Well, any idea what kind of government would come about? Any idea what kind of government would come about if they're successful in overthrowing them, or are we just watching?
Are we talking about Venezuela or Iran now?
Iran? We're talking about Iran. Although I want to finish on Venezuela.
So with Iran, if the revolutionaries win, they'll put in some kind of democratic government. No monarchy, no Islamic state. They're down. They're down with both. They're ready for democracy, which is great. But yeah, so the worst thing that can happen, and Trump's not a fan of democracy, as we can see. He didn't even consider putting Machado back in power in Venezuela. So yeah, I wouldn't surprise me at all if he tries to make a backing for putting a new Shah in Iran.
I don't know how we. I don't want to think about it. I guess theoretically we could get militarily involved, and that's how we could put the Shah in charge. But I don't know, man. That sounds like a terrible idea. Dictatorship isn't good just because it serves us. I mean, look, a dictatorship that serves us better than a dictatorship doesn't. But that's just
The
not.
reason we got this horrible Islamic government in Iran in the first place was because of the U.S. government backing the Shah.
Yes.
Right? So there was a revolution. The Islamists had the most power, and they created the new government, right? Which then went on to oppress everyone else, including their fellow Muslims, because theocracy every single time.
Yeah, that's why theocracy's bad.
What was the other one you wanted to talk about? I guess Iran.
Oh, I said. I said Iran and Venezuela. Did we have anything else to say about? I mean, did we have anything else we wanted to bring up about Venezuela? Lord.
I guess my main point is that Venezuela is one big distraction, right? What did we really accomplish? Okay, we're bringing Maduro to trial.
By the way, did you
why
notice?
should U.S. military force be involved in that?
By the way, I need to
Yeah.
say this. Did you guys notice? Oh my God, we're bringing Maduro to trial. But did you notice that when Donald Trump is accused of crimes, it takes a year to get anywhere. We bagged and had him stand trial in the 3 days. Like, how long did it, like, how did, like, I'm like perplexed by that. Did you notice that? Am I the only one?
Well, he's not. I mean, so they got him and they brought him to New York for
Arraignment.
arraignment. Yeah, but they didn't put him on trial. I mean, and the thing is with Trump, the unique situation in that regard, obviously, was they wanted to dot their I's and cross their T's with Jack Smith, but by the time they ended up bringing Jack Smith in, it had been a little too late at that point. And
Yes,
so
definitely.
because of that, there was just not enough time for the complexities of trying to indict a former president and a candidate at that. So that's one of the complexities of trying to indict someone like Donald Trump. Now, with that being said, I do think that the next, president who takes over, if it were to be a Democrat, ought to try to go in and there's probably a whole lot of corruption under the surface that we just haven't really seen. For example, I think there's one with not Halligan, the DHS spokesperson getting her husband getting special contracts from DHS. And there was an Instagram picture she took just recently of her sitting in a nice shiny new jet. So interesting on how that worked out.
Quite.
So, but yeah, there's not a whole lot with Venezuela. I think kind of like David said, is that the one thing about Venezuela that I think a lot of people were kind of like, oh, well, we'll put in somebody like Machado. I'm like, the problem with that is that that's not quite how Venezuela works. Like, all they did was end up swearing in Delcy Rodriguez, who, from what I've understood, is basically a Maduro 2.0, if not even worse. Maduro himself called her a tiger. So
Jesus. That's not
pretty
good,
bad.
dude.
Yeah.
That's not good.
So yeah, it's and in order to really change things, that would require boots on the ground, right? Just taking the president, that's most countries can actually survive that. A normal thing of a government is to have the next in line ready and waiting, right? So unless you're, a very unpopular dictator without the support, but he's got an institution. The Chavista government's been there for going on 20 years now, since Chavez first seized power. So yeah, this isn't going to be enough to affect real change in Venezuela. The other good thing, actually, that really came out of this is that Trump finally really enforced the sanctions against Russia. One of the Russian oil ships was leaving Venezuela, and because it's a sanctioned ship, they had legal authority. They boarded it and took it. Russia was sending its navy to try and rescue its Shadow Fleet vessel, but they weren't there, and Trump actually stood up. So that's a little silver lining on what's otherwise a not so great situation. Maybe we'll get some sanctions enforcement. Maybe we can actually get Trump and Putin to go head to head. Maybe Putin will get really mad and insult Trump's dancing, right? And then it'll be on.
And then it'll be on. We gotta have a dance off.
That would be funny. Like I said, I think, I don't know. I think there's a lot of stuff between Putin and Trump that they seem to have some kind of like a real affection towards each other. And I think it's pretty apparent.
Yeah, they do, but so did Hitler and Stalin, and that didn't stop them from going at each other. So
Fair.
Just the
There can
difference
only be
that 2
one
years
Putin
makes.
in the world.
Yeah, Putin's not. Trump thinks that he's going to share with Putin, that Putin, Xi, and Trump are going to have their spheres of interest, right? Their hemispheres or whatever. And that's not the way it works. He just doesn't understand the Russian mentality, the Ruski mir, the Russian world. Because they've stated it openly. Russia's borders don't end anywhere. They firmly believe that. Everywhere a Russian soldier steps is Russia. So, they still claim in Russia they're wanting Alaska back. just as much as Ukraine.
I mean, Dave Smith will let him have it.
Well, maybe Trump can make Canada the 51st state.
We'll do a trade.
Crazy.
Like, we get Canada, they get Alaska.
I will say it's actually, it was really amazing actually to go up to Canada when I went up there for work. They definitely, like, some people may not in America understand just how much national pride Canada has. It is on par, if not more, than how the U.S. has with, like, how patriotic we are. And Trump going after Canada has only united Canada more.
Yeah.
Well,
Furthermore,
hilarious thing is it wasn't that way a couple years ago.
You're right. No, well, and that was the crazy thing, and I'm sure this is just standard, but it was really shocking to me when I went up there for work. Is when I went up there and I was telling them, like, yeah, I'm here to, try to help train somebody or whatever. I met with 3 different met with the different Canadian border patrol guys, or whatever you call them, customs agents. Met with 3 of them, and I got the 3rd degree burn from, like, just talking to them, because they're like, well, can somebody here do that job for you? Can, what can, they kept asking me questions related to, in other words, they were worried that me as an American, I was going to take somebody's job in Canada, right? I'm like, brother, I'm here just to train somebody, and I'm out of y'all's hair.
Someone
But now I've got some kind of a mark in my Canadian passport book thing or whatever, where anytime I go through customs now, I'm probably going to get fucking reamed out. Sorry, excuse my language. I'm probably going to get reamed out about, oh, you're here for work? No, I'm here for vacation. You sure you're not here for, I'm just here for vacation. So that's the fun part about it.
There are companies along the northern border, American companies, that are going out of business because Canada was their main market, and Canadians are just buying Canadian in now.
That's one of the most annoying things is Trump just doesn't understand. Like, it's so zero sum in his mind. He just can't possibly imagine. Oh, I got a good trade deal. I mean, what did it cost? He's so completely deluded on anything he talks about. It's really frustrating.
There are people who are falling for it. I have people messaging me that, he's bringing the deficits down.
Sorry, thanks for coming, Seamus. I appreciate it, man.
But, he's increased government spending. The only reason the deficits are down are because you are being taxed harder through tariffs.
Yes.
Those taxes, the things you say that Democrats do. But, I can get really into the weeds on tax structures, which, will put people to sleep. But tariffs have to be one of the worst forms of taxes for the economy.
Really, even worse. What's the best tax and what's the worst tax then?
The best taxes are service fees. Pay for what you get, just like going to the grocery store. I want an apple. Here's $1. Right? And that goes directly to contribute to the thing. The next best thing is a consumption tax of any form. So there's been a movement here, bipartisan in the U.S., to switch from the income tax to some form of national sales tax. Mike Huckabee, when he ran for president, made the fair tax part of his platform, which is a form of national sales tax. The European Union, has the VAT tax, which is a consumption tax.
I know Florida loves their sales taxes.
Yeah, well, sales taxes are better than income taxes. There's a simple rule. If you want less of something, tax it. So why would you ever want less income? Why would you ever want less productivity? Why would you want less trade? Those things improve the economy, right?
Yeah. Also, I've got a friend out in California who, she's on, government healthcare, but it's only low-income healthcare, so she actually works less than she can, because it's worth it to stay on that healthcare program. And I was like, God, that is a very poorly created program.
And, if I can go down this tax tangent for a moment longer, and I'm gonna complain about tariffs, and where a lot of progressives get it wrong. because they believe that tariffs and income taxes are a progressive tax, by which they believe that it hits the rich more than the poor.
Tariff?
That is not true. That is actually the opposite.
Tariffs hit low income because they're the ones who have to afford cheap Chinese, shit or India shit.
Yeah, so, and of course, different things can be exempted from a tax. Washington state sales tax here exempts like groceries and rent, right? So you're not paying for the basics. A certain level of income is not taxed. But that still doesn't really tell you what's necessary. People are pretty good at deciding what's necessary themselves. So when you don't have an income tax, when you have a sales tax, the big thing is that people can choose when they're taxed, right? So they're making money. They will save up and spend on necessities. Necessities always have to go. And then the non-essentials, they will buy when they can, right? So that's just straight off an easy way that any form of sales tax is better than an income tax for the people. The reason we don't do it is that it's more difficult for government. They like to have a steady, dependable income, right? Just like you like to know how much is going to be in your next paycheck. Government says the same thing. And so income tax is pretty good at that. But the reason it's good at that is because it squeezes the people and it squeezes the economy harder, which means in the long run, it's worse because you're getting less. We're all getting less. Okay, now I'll get off my tax podium.
Hey, that's like when I was sitting there and I told some attorneys that I was looking at for a minute there. And it still is actually, believe it or not, intriguing to me, is wanting to be a tax attorney. Just because I'm in the world of accounting as it is. And so doing something like, I love law, I love the legal side of everything else like that. And so it's just appealing to me. I'm like, tax attorneys, I'm sure, make like really, really good money. Not to mention the fact that like I love when I was doing sales and use tax auditing, getting into the weeds of that particular those laws and things. I found it fascinating. So, but yeah, people always laugh at me. The attorneys are like, "You are insane for wanting to become a tax attorney." But on that note, guys, hey, it was great talking with you guys. I need to get off. I am like 40 minutes over my time that I should have been on. But it was a pleasure speaking with you guys. I do enjoy doing these streams more. I finally moved my setup that was in our bedroom to now in the garage. And luckily, it is not hot outside yet, but it is actually quite comfortable out here. And I'm working on the setup on trying to do some sound dampening and stuff. So if there sounds like there's an echo, that's why. But overall, I'm very impressed with it, very happy with it. Hopefully on the next week's stream that we do, I can make sure to have my camera up and running and we'll be good to go. I will make a brief self-promotion if you guys don't mind.
Yep,
next week I will be picking up my live streams again. I was AFK for like the past 6 months. But I am coming back. I finally, like I said, have my own setup and stuff now. So that'll be Wednesdays and Fridays at 7:30 p.m. Central Standard Time. And we're going to do some more TikTok debates than anything. We might cover a little bit of news topics, but that's what we're going to do. Anybody who's listening to this that's on the Project Liberal, on Twitch or YouTube or Twitter or X, please make sure you hit that like, subscribe, notification bell. We all want to see you guys come back, and we definitely want to encourage you guys to participate more in chat. Feel free to get in there and talk about things. We'll definitely answer y'all's questions during these things. But I appreciate you guys for having me on, and I look forward to hanging out with you guys next week.
Thank you, man.
Thank you for joining us. And speaking on that,
Take care, guys.
do we have any questions or topics in the comments that people want me to talk about?
Real quick, there is a question, but it's not related to that. So, the Free Iran said, "Are you the one playing the game?" And yes, I'm playing the game. That's why it's going. Trust me when I say, if we just wanted to use B-roll, I would just purchase B-roll of like someone playing Fortnite and slaying face really well. You wouldn't be like watching me just like trudge through, Black Mesa, I would imagine not optimally. Whee! I'm dead. Like that. Oh, fuck me. Fuck this game. Alright, anyway. That was funny. You got me. You got me, Valve. Alright.
Last month, there was a request for me to talk about Israel. I don't know if people are still interested in that.
There was one person on Monday who wanted to get into a huge debate with me on the subject, and I had some basic knowledge, so I had a slight discussion with him. But then I was like, if you really want to go ham, I know David, you're a foreign policy expert, so I said David is here, but I think he is not here. Had better things to do or whatnot.
I'll be honest. I don't know if I'm as exciting a person to debate on that topic. I know it's a very popular hot topic, but my views on the whole Israel-Palestine thing are not extreme, which makes for a fun, hot debate.
That's like they're like super mad, and you're like, no, I'm vibing, and they're like, what? How?
Yeah,
is that basically how it goes?
My political views are pretty much screw Hamas, screw Netanyahu. To put it in a nutshell, when I've been cornered on having to have a stance before.
I mean, that's probably the correct stance, I think. Netanyahu is, unfortunately, he himself is, he's a tyrant in his own way. He's trying to, I just don't understand what these liberals are thinking. I really just don't. Like, is it really worth it to take power? Like, BB's 70, what's he doing? Like surely it can't be worth it. But it is.
Trying to stay out of jail.
That's fun. I mean, I get that. Maybe there you go. Suddenly, makes
like
sense.
Trump, he had his huge corruption scandal, and the courts were catching up with him. And by being its prime minister in Israel, not president, he cannot go through his trial and be convicted. Gives him some years to try and find a way out.
Like gutting the Supreme Court.
And he's also trying to turn Israel from a democracy into, a thugocracy like Russia.
Let's, I think my conspiracy theory on Israel, and I'm curious what you think. I could be super off base, so just hit me up on this. I think that Netanyahu is actively he likes to see American support erode, and he wants to do it because he knows that if he tries to pivot to China as as Israel's big daddy, his people will be upset because Israelis love America. I don't know if you know, but back in the 80s, I was told by an Israeli person. He said that back in the 80s, if you were in 90s, you would say that's so America if you wanted to say something was cool. So Israelis love America and they really look up to America, but America will hold them to standards. And in China, if you're China's if China's the one who you're relying on to give you a UN security veto, and China's the country you're relying on to supply you with some weapons in tough times, well, guess what? You can just do whatever you want to whoever you want. You can live some dictator life. So maybe I'm wrong. I could be you might just be no, I don't feel you might be total. I might be just conspiracying up. But part of me thinks that's BB's motivation, is that he secretly wants an authoritarian best friend who will let him get away with literal murder in Gaza, in Israel, in wherever.
No, I don't think you're too far off. I don't think it's China, though. I think it seems to be, which is very odd for Israeli society, but it seems to be Russia. Bibi's really been cozying up with Putin. He's been working hard to try and save those Russian bases up there in Syria. Making needless enemies with the new Syrian government. I mean, they got rid of Assad, who has been officially at war with Israel since 1948.
Which
right?
is Israel's
There's no peace treaty. And the new government came in and said, nah, we're not at war with Israel. Nothing. We got other things to deal with. And Bibi's just been picking a fight, and they're occupying parts of southern Syria. And I understand there's justifications for it, but they're not real reasons because, they could be working with the new government. There's no need for the opposition other than that Netanyahu wants to cozy up to Russia. He wants to protect those Russian bases. He's got a pretense, which, for Israeli society, they're protecting a minority population in Syria.
The Druze.
That's what he's selling it as. But the reality is he's been cozying up with Putin, which makes no sense. Russia is no real friend to Israel. They are spreading anti-Semitic messaging around the world deliberately to try to radicalize people and get them on their side. They're using anti-Semitic messages to talk down Zelensky, who is ethnically Jewish, right, in Ukraine.
Yeah.
And it's.
Oh, could you?
And,
you can hear me. Yeah. I have
yeah.
two mics. So I have two mics. One is connected to the stream, and one is connected to the Discord. And I only muted the Discord mic. But anyway, I'm sorry. I only muted the stream.
Yeah,
mic, so
and Russia's backing Israel's enemies, backing Iran, right?
Yeah.
Who is Israel's main enemy. So, it really, it's bad for Israel, but it's good for Netanyahu. He likes dealing with Russian-style corruption.
So, yes.
And several Russian oligarchs have dual citizenship with
Yes.
Russia and Israel, and they're
Abramovich.
helping Netanyahu out.
Yes, absolutely.
In fact, what is it? There's a joke, Eastern European joke. Do you know what wars in Israel and wars in Russia have in common?
No.
Long lines for flights to Tel Aviv. Which is
Yeah.
Israelis returning to fight for Israel and Russians
Jewish
escaping
population.
to
Yep.
not fight for Russia.
That's actually it's a banger joke, actually.
Yes, it is. But, this is Eastern European humor.
Eastern Europeans always have the funniest jokes. They also have the
The
best
good,
curses.
the good
by the way.
Eastern European jokes are about communism.
Yeah. So I got one more question for you. I know we're running on our time box soon, so I got one more question for you.
Yep.
What is America's role? So, we're seeing a little bit of wobbling coming up from Iran, which is interesting, right? Iran, who knows what the direction it's going to take is. My question for you is, what is the U.S. Your Donald Trump? You've got Donald Trump's ear for a minute, but you can only talk to him about Iran. Okay. So.
Okay.
All right. So President Trump. This is the stance, the actions that we should be taking. Oh no!
Send weapons.
Send weapons. Wow.
Yep.
To
Arm the Iranian people.
That sounds kind of complex. Isn't it easier to bomb something? I don't know. I'm just asking.
Probably, but then bombs are indiscriminate. It's very difficult to hit the right people all the time. And they don't necessarily have, they're big, they're flashy. They don't necessarily change facts on the ground as much as you might think. It really takes, the expression is boots on the ground, but work on the ground to change things. And so we don't want to invade. It's difficult for us. And that would just enter a third force into their two-way fight right now. We need to back the side that we want to win. And unfortunately, the people of Iran are disarmed, right? They're successfully disarming some of the militias and others and becoming armed. But, they don't have a Second Amendment. They don't have friends who are willing to really run them guns, but they should. And that would be the best thing that we could do. Arm Ukraine, arm Iran. Keep troops, keep bombs out of it.
Gotcha. All right. I wonder if he'll listen. I wonder if they're doing so covertly, because if they are doing it, they're never going to admit to it, obviously. So
Yeah, and it could be that the CIA is doing something like that covertly. It wouldn't even surprise me if they were doing it without President Trump knowing, because they do have some ability to make decisions and arm who they want through congressional authorization. But yeah, and actually, while I'm on that topic, because I like to pick on the left for something like every week, and
we went enough on MAGA. You can get your freebie in.
I'll it won't take long. It'll just be my last part. But with all this increasing violence, I am openly a Second Amendment supporter. I do think we need to have better discussions about what real reasonable limitations are. But there are a fair number of Democrats who are completely anti-gun, who believe that only the government should have guns. And it's weird to see them protest these shootings that the Trump government is doing, and then say only the Trump government should have guns.
It's so, and I saw Adam Schiff, who generally I'm pretty in favor of, but Schiff, I saw we were having a moment. This was like a year back, close to the beginning of this term, where Trump was doing something that was illegal, constitutionally questionable or illegal, and then Schiff that day released an article about banning assault weapons, or released a video about banning assault weapons. I was like, my man, this is an opportunity to be the Constitution Party. What are you doing? Killing that vibe. We could my man. Yeah. Even if you want to do it, not today. Just give us 2 weeks to write. I don't know, man. That's anyway. Yeah, that's part of the fun about being a Democrat is shooting yourself in the foot.
We can still address issues of violence. We can still have talk about guns. But this right now is why the Second Amendment exists. And gun owners are not going to stand up for Democrats while we take the position of being their enemy.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Because actually a lot of these Second Amendment groups are rather anti-Trump. I'm a Second Amendment guy. I support another organization called the Firearms Policy Coalition, and they are suing the Trump administration left and right. All kinds of lawsuits against Pam Bondi. It's great. And that's why I support them. There are other 2A groups that won't take on the Trump administration. But they do, and the Trump administration absolutely deserves it. So I will kind of end this with a quote, and people can challenge me, but Ida B. Wells wrote about the Southern lynchings and said that a Winchester rifle should have a place of honor in every black household, and it should be thanked for the protection which the law refused to give. That's why the Second Amendment exists. And right now, we're seeing that we need this. If these ICE folks really believed that they were going into neighborhoods where people might shoot back, they would not be doing this, right? Sure. That's how Southern black communities, which are now strong Democrat communities, stopped lynchings, stopped being assaulted when the legal institutions were corrupted. So we need to have a better discussion about that.
I totally agree. And on that note,
and if you're listening, send us some questions. Send us whether you agree or disagree, what your point of view is. I'd love to have more of a discussion on that in the future, but I only will if we get commenters who are willing to support it. So let me know if that's something you want us to talk about and what your angle is.
Yeah, we're definitely want to host some debates. I was thinking about reaching out to some people and seeing what I could get going. But that's a discussion for another day. All right, we're going to call the stream there. Thank you guys for hanging out. Do really appreciate it. I will Google where the hell to go in Black Mesa so I stop wasting everyone's time.
And, I will make one little point. My position on guns is not the Project Liberal position.
I don't even know. Does Project Liberal has a position?
Yeah, not really. There are many people in Project Liberal who have a very different position than mine. Maybe we can get one of them to debate if you guys want to.
I'd be into that. All right. friends, thank you so much for hanging out on the stream. We are gonna go out, but we'll be back Monday with some more gaming. Have a good one. Thank you guys.